Amir, please join in StreamYard link. Everybody has joined. No, it should not be there. Everybody has joined. Try, please. You have to just enter. That's all. I do not know. You have to copy paste. What are you using? Let me try. Tell me my word. Then there must be some problem there. Please, you come in the StreamYard link which I have given. Okay. Greetings from India, dear authors. Andrei Kurkov and Alireza Abij.
Hello.
Amir is waiting. He's likely to join, and I do not know about the Bach Akhmadov. He is likely to join soon. Welcome to the first panel discussion of OLF Mindscapes, an initiative of the Odisha Art and Literature Festival, which has already completed 10 years of its remarkable journey. Remarkable journey. It is my pleasure to briefly introduce our distinguished speakers. Andrei Kurkov, born in Leningrad and now based in Kyiv, is a renowned Ukrainian novelist who writes in both Ukrainian and Russian. He has served as the acting president of PEN Ukraine, and his works have been translated into 45 languages. Known for his sharp black humor and exploration of post-Soviet realities, his writing has appeared in the New York Times and The Guardian. He was twice longlisted for the International Booker Prize in 2023 and 2024, and was also a member of the Man Booker Prize judging panel in 2009, the year Alice Munro received the award. Alireza Abij is a multi-award-winning Iranian poet, creative writing teacher, and a translator. He has published 5 poetry collections in Persian and has received several prestigious accolades, including the Samlo Poetry Award. He has translated works by Derek Walcott, Allen Ginsberg, and Rainer Maria Rilke, and others. He is currently based in London. Thank you for joining us. When Amir and Bach joins, I will introduce them also. Now, Amir is still trying to join. There is some technical glitch, I think, there. Sorry. Now, I would request both Andrei Kurkov and Alireza, could you please tell us briefly if you have any direct or indirect experience of the war going on or about any previous war?
Well, I can start, although, I mean, we both represent the countries at war, but Ukraine was at war starting from 2014, starting from annexation of Crimea attack
Now,
in Donbass.
excuse me. Now, Amir has joined. Welcome,
Yes.
Amir. I'll just
Hello,
introduce.
everybody.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
hi, hi. It is nice meeting you. Let me introduce Amir. Amir hails from Israel, a golden wreath laureate. He is one of the major voices in contemporary world poetry. A graduate of Hebrew University of Jerusalem in philosophy and comparative religion. He has authored 15 poetry collections, 2 novels, 1 essay, and 12 books of translation. His works have been translated into over 50 languages worldwide. Congratulations, Amir, for joining us. Welcome. And let us start. Please carry on, Mr. Andrei Kurkov.
Well, I will not take much time, but I wanted to say that because of this war, because of Russian aggression, it's not only Ukraine, but it's Ukrainian culture and Ukrainian literature who are at war and who are targeted also by Russian army. Ukraine in the last 4 years lost more than 300 writers, poets, translators, and editors. We have completely different situation now in our literary scene than before 2014. So mostly Ukrainian writers and poets are writing about the war, with some exceptions when we are talking about fantasy writing and books for children. So all Ukrainian culture is now is about the war, about resistance, about hope for the end of this aggression.
Okay. Okay. Amir, I was just asking all participants that please tell about the your direct or indirect experience about war that is going on currently or in previous years also.
Okay, I will.
Please.
Well, I was born in a year of war and have lived through many sins, and none has ever truly ended. In wartime, life is suddenly fragile, immediate. You write between sirens and silences, between disbelief and fear, and knowing that whatever is being defended, it is rarely ordinary people. It's also very difficult to get people to listen. Everybody is afraid. Everybody wants to survive. I have lived this time and again, not as a metaphor, but as fact. Missiles falling in my home. My elderly mother, 94 years old, her home was struck in the previous war, and she was in a shelter, but had to be evacuated. Even now, we are holding our breath here, fearing the war will be renewed. And in wars, even when the guns are fall silent, nothing is truly over.
Okay. So, Mr. Ali Raja, you are staying in London, but you are in a heart and soul, you are an Iranian. Please let us know about your experience.
Yes, I have had lots of experience with war. When I was 16, I volunteered to Iran-Iraq war, and I escaped home 4 times because my family didn't allow me to go. But I was so enthusiastic to take part in the war. And finally, I managed and I served 4 months in the battlefront when I was 16. So actually as a child. And I lost 2 of my friends who were sitting in the same bench with me. So they were my classmates and we used to sit in the same bench, the 3 of us. And I lost 2 of them in that war. And that war took 8 years, and the entire world was actually helping Saddam Hussein, who was at the time the dear boy of the West. So French Mirage planes and Super Étendard missiles were flying over our head. German chemical weapons was used against not only soldiers, but against civilians in Iran. And that was my first experience of war. The second one was last year in June, when my wife was in Tehran, and suddenly I got the news that Israel has attacked Iran. So I called my wife and I saw that she was awake, and I told her to look out the window and see if she can see anything. And she took a picture and sent it to me, and it was actually the flat across from our flat, which had been hit. And last year, I lost a 22-year-old relative of mine who was a rescue worker, volunteered with the Red Crescent, and who went to help the aftermath of a bombing. But then the Israeli planes came back and bombed the rescue workers. And this 22-year-old was killed. A friend of mine who is a translator, and we used to work together, left office and was walking home in Tehran, and because the office and his home are close, so he normally walks. And about 10 meters after he passed the square, that square was hit, and about 50 people were killed in that spot. So this friend of mine could have also died. These are only some minor experiences. This year also, my wife was in Iran. We had to evacuate her through Turkey. It took us about 1 week to find a safe car who could drive her all the way from Tehran to the border, and then from border to the Erzurum, and then to find her flight to Istanbul and to London. And my other family members, all my sisters, my brother, and my father, they all live in Tehran. They all had to evacuate and go to different cities. However, my nephew is a soldier, and it's compulsory. Military service in Iran is compulsory, and he has to go to the garrison, and every night we have to worry about him. Also, my sister's husband is an electrical engineer, and because electrical grid is now considered legitimate target, as are the hospitals and the schools and universities and ambulance services and parks. So there is no one is safe. And this is actually what makes it extremely difficult for our time, that it seems we need a new definition of war. Because in the 8-year war with Iraq, when I joined the war, if you were in the cities, you had an assumption of safety. But now, unfortunately, with this war, no one is safe. When bridges are considered legitimate targets, people were having picnics under that bridge on the day which is the Nature Day in Iran. It's a national holiday. And suddenly the United States decides that they want to hit a bridge which is not even complete. It was under construction. And 32 people lost their lives because someone decided that you don't deserve to have a bridge. So yeah, that's my personal experience.
Okay. Now my question to Andre: do you think, Andre, literature can truly capture the reality of war, or does it inevitably fall short?
Well, the literature doesn't play a big role during the war. That I experienced from the very beginning of Russian aggression. second aggression already in 2022, because the cultural life stopped for several weeks when half of population was on the move, when hundreds of thousands of cars with families were escaping the war, going to the western borders. And the writers were also on the run, or they were going to the front line as volunteers. And it's actually only after 6 or 7 or 8 weeks of the full-scale war, the cultural life reappeared, resurfaced, and writers also started writing again, but not the fiction. They started writing non-fiction, diaries, articles, essays, and half of the writers, like me, they were also sharing the experience with the foreign readers. So we were publishing articles and essays and reports in international media. So this is not literature. Literature actually is usually stepping in when the war is over, when the memory is still fresh and alive, when not everybody is buried. That's the time when actually the literature comes, and it takes partially pain away. At the same time, it fixes the reality in a way that will last longer than nonfiction. So, I mean, we don't have many new novels now in Ukraine. We have a lot of books about the war, documentary books, nonfiction books, journals, memoirs, and people actually, I think during these 4 years of the war, people almost stopped reading these books. So they want to read something which helps them to escape from the reality. And the result is that 80% of the novels which are read now in Ukraine are translated literature from abroad. But I'm sure that once the war is over, we will have an influx of the novels about this war. We have some books now, but I don't think they are the best ones, because it's difficult to write during the war. You have to find a stable place, a quiet place to concentrate. And it is impossible to concentrate during the war because you are checking on the news every 20 minutes, or you are listening to the bomb alerts, aerial alerts, explosions. I mean, people who live in big cities, they don't sleep already for 2 years because of the every night explosions and attacks by Russian aviation, by Russian missiles and drones.
Okay. Now my question to Amir. Does writing during or about the war differ from writing in the time of a peace? Amir, are you able to hear me?
No.
Are you able to hear me, Amir?
Yeah, I have some technical problems. I have a terrible echo. So I find it very difficult to understand.
How
Maybe
does writing?
you can write a question and send it in a chat.
How does writing during or about the war differ from writing in the time of a peace?
What?
Are you able to read the
Yes.
line? How does writing during or about the war differ from writing in time of a peace?
It's a question for me. I couldn't hear you. Yeah?
Yes.
Yes, Amir, it's for you.
Okay. Yeah, I hear everything twice. Okay, so what I can say is that in times of war, to me, literature has an important task. Literature must defend the human in us, because this is what is under attack. Besides, of course, lives. People get injured, people die, but this is not a poet's job. Poetry, I think, should uncover the lies of politicians and regimes, resist the language of fear, of hate, of tribalism, and remind us of our shared vulnerability. I think it needs to speak of endurance, of hope, of peace, not as slogans, but as lived necessities. And if it can, it should remind us that destruction doesn't create liberty. It multiplies suffering and leaves generations to inherit its consequences. Writing in wartime is different because reality itself becomes extreme, of course. You are running to the shelters every day, and in such conditions, writing cannot afford abstractions. It must face reality as it is, without illusion. And war is not a story. Yeah? It's not a game. It's not a writer's retreat. It reshapes the soul. It hardens identities. It erodes humanism and leaves scars long after the last shot is fired. So, to me, a true poet must be a healer. But healing begins with truth. And what is the truth of war? War is easy to begin, it is hard to end. No one knows whether its shockwaves will pass in weeks, months, years, a generation, or more. War serves the agents of fear, of hatred, and death on both sides. It turns civil society into a frightened herd huddling behind the tyrant. War becomes a state of mind, and this is the major danger.
Okay, okay. Now, Ali Reza, can you just tell me that can literature influence public opinion or political action during wartime?
That's, to be honest, a very difficult question. It probably needs a kind of polling, but I am not that optimistic, no. So my personal answer is no, for different reasons. First of all, writers are not the source of reference they used to be, for example, in 20th century. Nowadays, people don't look up to writers. No one follows writers to say what they say. There are celebrities, athletes, I don't know, pop singers who are now the social references, even for politics. And that's why you can see that governments employ influencers to impact public opinion. Secondly, I think prior to any war, there comes a war of words. Language gets corrupted in a way that encourages war, and this is the main thing that happens. Others become enemy, and the language of animosity becomes prevalent in a way that it looks natural and normal to us. In another sense, war becomes the norm and peace becomes the exception. So no one seems to be surprised or outraged that there are so many different wars going on around the world, or there are so many war crimes are happening around the world. And to be honest, I am also disappointed with the writers themselves, because again, if we go back to 50 years ago, to the 60s, to the 50s, to the 40s, to the 30s, you could see that writers and intellectuals were socially active. They were politically engaged and committed. But nowadays, many writers, they just seem that they don't mind. They are mainly focused on their careers. Is it because they are part of the industry? Is it because of the commodification of literature? Is it because the book industry is so huge and the cancel culture is so important that many people self-censor themselves. I can see this in my own circle of friends. Many people are afraid to express their opinions publicly because they are afraid that they might lose contracts, they might lose audience, they might lose publishers. And the first victim is the truth. And I think when the truth is being victimized, then the warmongers can sell their own version of truth. And their own version of truth is abusing literature, is abusing culture, is abusing mythology, whether it is religious mythology, whether it is national mythology, whether it is glorified past, to somehow just justify their wars. Therefore, what I think can be done, a glimmer of hope, is what Amir said, to be able to return humanity to humans, to return humanity to the victims, to show that everyone believes the same. A child who dies in Gaza, a child who dies in school in Minab, bleeds the same way that a teenager bleeds in a music festival in Israel. But this is not what we normally see. So that's what needs to happen, giving humanity back to the victims, and stop seeing them only as numbers. Thank you.
Well, now one question I want to put to all three of you. Any of you, like either you can tell anybody you feel like, how important is a translation in bringing war narratives to a global audience?
Well, without translation, it's impossible to share literature at all, neither poetry nor nonfiction. And translation is the universal language. It's like music. It's possibility actually to be heard, to be understood, and to pass messages and to take part in the discussions, because if you don't have translations, nobody knows what you think. And yeah, I mean, the translation of the war reality comes slow. I mean, every translation takes a year or 2 years, which means that actually when it reaches you, unless it is a journalism, if it is a novel, it reaches you 2 years later usually, and it means that you deal already with the history. But history is becoming very important during the war and after the war, because actually history is used very often. Real history or fake history is used to justify the war. So in the end, actually, all the discussions after the war center about the history of this war, the prehistory of this war.
Okay, great. Now I would request you three, Andre, Amir, and Amir is facing some technical problem of what I feel. He has having seen it twice in 2 places now. Amir,
I'm okay.
Alireza, okay. Amir, Alireza, and Andre, kindly read from your poems or from your fiction or non-fiction, whatever you have written. Now I request to read. Andre, to start with.
To read?
Yeah,
unfortunately, I don't have a text here.
Okay, no
but I mean,
problem.
I can open one of the non-fiction texts that I just finished a couple of days ago and read you a small extract.
Please do. It will be really good.
Yeah, and it will be about the Easter, actually, because we just had Easter 2 days ago in Ukraine. And it's called Cleaning Windows in the Wartime. This year, Ukraine celebrates Easter a week later than in Catholic countries. During this week, when Jesus has already risen in Europe, Ukrainian believers diligently clean their windows to allow as much light as possible into their homes for Easter. Of course, this tradition of washing windows before Good Friday also has a spiritual significance, a cleansing from sins and the negative influences of the past that weigh down the mind and soul. The most popular day of the week for window cleaning is Thursday. According to popular belief, the ritual involves using a new cloth, and you should first wash the inside of the house or apartment and only then the outside. It is also advisable to pour the water away under a nearby tree, not down the drain. In Western Ukraine, where religious traditions have remained intact, residents take window cleaning very seriously and monitor their neighbors to ensure that everything is done properly. During the war, the tradition of keeping tabs on neighbors has weakened somewhat. Many windows in Lviv and Ivano-Frankivsk have remained unwashed for several years. Either the owners of the apartments or houses have become refugees, or these homes have been occupied by internally displaced persons who may not be busy trying to survive to worry about the dirty windows. They may also be unfamiliar with this tradition. On the other hand, cleaning your windows on Maundy Thursday may be the best way for internally displaced persons from Donbass and southern Ukraine to establish contact with their neighbors in western Ukraine, and a good opportunity to demonstrate their willingness to integrate into local life. There is also the belief that through clean windows, God is better able to see human goings on and better able to provide help in difficult and unpredictable times. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Amir, are you ready with your poems?
Yes, yes. I will read a couple of short poems about
Please,
the
please, please.
underlying reality. And
Yeah.
before I read the poem, twins, please find the story of biblical twins, Jacob and Esau, who struggled for supremacy even in their mother's womb. And when one was born, the other came out right after him, holding his heel. Twins. Twins we are in this land, two nations wrestling in her womb, not Arab and Jews, but on the one side, the seekers of death, on the others, seekers of life. And one brother tries to prevail over the other, those who serve hatred and fear, and across from them, the lovers. Each clutches his brother's heel, light within darkness, darkness within light, twin bound to twin. The second one is about barbarism, but I want you to listen
Okay.
to it also as a poem that speaks about our inside of our own barbarians. The barbarians around. It was not in vain that we awaited the barbarians. It was not in vain that we gathered in the city square. It was not in vain that our great ones put on their official robes and rehearsed their speeches for the event. It was not in vain that we smashed our temples and erected new ones to their gods. As proper, we burnt our books that have nothing in them for people like that. As the prophecy foretold, the barbarians came and took the keys to the city from the king's hand. But when they came, they wore garments of the land, and their customs were the customs of the state. And when they commanded us in our own tongue, we no longer knew when. The barbarians had come to us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Ali Reza, please read some of your poems.
Okay, thank you very much. I will read two short poems.
Okay.
The first one is called The Tired Soldier. From behind many hills, the wail of jackals wakens me, and the futile voices of the dawn. Bugles cough like sick roosters, and the morning sun bursts through the needles of the garrison's pines. The tired soldier hangs his boots around his neck and pisses in his helmet. The second poem I'm going to read is called The Puberty in the Trenches, and this is derived from my experience as a child who went to the battlefront. There is a phrase that I need to explain at the end, which is Ghusl Janabat, which is an Arabic term, and actually it's a kind of religious ritual which a Muslim, when they have had sexual intercourse or ejaculation for any reason, they need to wash their body. So it's a kind of cleansing ritual which you need to do if you have had any kind of sexual gratification. Puberty in the trenches. Fall in. You stand in line in Palangon Mosque, your knapsack being filled with tins of tuna and gifts of nuts. Magazine pouches ornament your wrist. Magazine pouches ornament your waist. Fall in a long queue you climb Mount Shahu, listening to the breeze through the grass and the river flowing down in the valley. Sit behind that boulder and let the river below pass through the valley. The men carry water in white containers. Sit behind that boulder and aim at the bull's eye. Fire. Spring grass is being crushed underfoot. It has covered the graves and the mustaches of Akbar Komole. Forward. Your boots are too big for your feet. When you turn the first corner, you see Dervish Fares with his long carbine rolling a cigarette. You are scared. Grip your M1 tightly. In your Israeli-made sleeping bag, you sleep comfortably with no report of guns. In your wet dream, you have been left behind by the company which has gone up to the front line. In the tamarisk bushes, with a tin of hot water, I wash my body for the sake of Ghusl Janabat. It's an obligation for me to purify, to get close to Allah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Andre, I have another question for you. How has the social media and the instant news changed the way writers engage with war?
Well, social media is now the main platform for the writers to put their texts first, long before they can be published on paper. Social media is also a platform for arguing and for verbal wars between the writers and activists and intellectuals, because in the wartime, every intellectual is radicalized, and the intellectual society is usually split into smaller groups. And the more noisy the group is, the more active it is also on the social networks. At the same time, lots of poets are writing, especially writers who are soldiers. They are putting the texts on the social networks from the trenches, not only poems, but also their own experiences, their feelings, their thoughts, and their fears. So people who are not on the front line, they are spending now, especially active readers, they are spending much more time now online, checking the social network pages of the known and less known writers and poets, especially those who are involved on the front line in the combat.
Okay, okay. Amir, I would like to ask you, in the face of a destruction, does writing seek meaning or simply presence? Is hope something one constructs, discovers, or it exists?
In the face of destruction, writing must begin with presence. Before meaning, there is the act of witnessing, to stand, to see, to refuse silence. And this is not always very easy, it's sometimes even dangerous. Meaning may come later, if it comes at all, but without presence, meaning becomes rhetoric. Hope, too, is not simple. Hope is sometimes discovered, sometimes constructed, and sometimes resisted. There are moments when hope feels feel almost dishonest, when reality demands clarity rather than consolation. And yet, something in us continues to breathe, to imagine uh, another reality. So that too is a form of hope. And war teaches us how fragile life is, but also how persistent it is. Even in the darkest moments, people continue to speak, to care, to create. That is where hope lives, not in the declarations, but in the refusal to surrender our humanity. And I talk about both sides of the. During war, survival comes to the fore. But if anything is to be saved inside us, it is not saved by bombs. It is saved by continuing to speak in the human truth. And when this is concerned, missiles don't kill faith. They don't defend truth. They only multiply grief. All sides. And Jonas Mekas once said that in the very end, civilization perish because they listen to politicians and not to their poets. And all too often, this is true. We listen to those who command, not to those who see. We listen to power and not to conscience, to fear and not to vision. If there is anything left to save, it will not be saved by bombs. It will be saved by those who refuse them, those who offer another vision. And I would like to read some 7 lines of hope, to not to stay with the horrors. 7
Please go
lines
ahead.
to sunrise. And despite it all, life. Despite it all, love. Will indeed see the heart's gate open to a world of hope. In its path will stride again, wondering at its beauty, how spirits clear and peaceful. will indeed see the rising morning, the coming the coming sunrise of men.
Okay, okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, Andre, my next question to you, what advice should you like to give to young writers who want to write about conflict responsibly?
Well, I think the best thing is to start with nonfiction, to deal with reality, to try to understand what is happening, and to understand that every war has several dimensions. It has political dimension, it has human dimension, it has a cultural dimension. Yeah, and it's important to stay as objective as possible as a writer when you write about the conflict. It's very important not to catch the virus of total hatred. You have to understand that hatred in the end will destroy a person who hates. So you still have to try to keep you in a state of love, even if you suffer, if you lost your friends, if you lost your relatives, if you know that your country is in danger. But you should be hopeful that one day it will be over and the justice will prevail. And so, in this sense, the literature written in the time of conflict about the conflict shouldn't be directed as a weapon against somebody. It should be directed to people who you love and who should love you. I mean, the peace is based on love, the war is based on hatred. So, I mean, every writer should work for the peace, not for the hatred, not for the continuation of the war. I mean, there is always a temptation to take revenge, to say whatever you want to say bad about the other side. The other side, if the other side is wrong, will be punished anyway. It will be punished by the history, by the judgment of the next generations. And coming back, if we are talking about fiction, don't invent stories. Every war creates millions of stories which are real, dramatic, tragic, painful, but they are real. So, I mean, it's better to deal with reality, not with fantasy, when you write about the conflict, about the war.
Okay, Mr. Ali Reza,
Yes.
which author or works on war have deeply influenced you?
Well, I have read lots of war literature, like probably other guests here, and I think I have discovered that there are mainly three different approaches to war. One is glorifying war. So there are some kind of literature which glorifies war in different, romanticize it, whether it is by patriotism, whether it is by heroism. For example, we could name some of the novels of Ernest Hemingway, like The Farewell to Arms or For Whom the Bells Toll, or the poetry of Robert Graves, for example. There are some other sorts of war literature which show the life of ordinary people through war and are more detailed description of life. And this is the sort that I prefer more. One example could be the Radetzky March by Joseph Root that I really loved, or the famous novel by Yaroslav Hasek, the Good Soldier Shoak. But there are some other novels which, to me, show the deep horror of war, and we can learn a lot from them, and we really need them to be read again and again. For me, two most notable ones have been Slaughterhouse Slaughterhouse-5 by Kurt Vonnegut, and also Nothing New in the West Front by Irish Maria Remarque. So these two novels are the ones that really impacted me. Although I have read War and Peace twice by Tolstoy, and I have learned a lot from it, but the emotional impact that Slaughterhouse-5 had on me, I mean, is just unparalleled. So yeah, I would name these novels as some of them that really influenced me personally.
What about Red Badge of Courage by Stephen Crane?
Oh yeah, that's also another one. And also now that you mentioned Stephen Crane, I could also name an English poet whom I have actually translated into Persian, who was a friend of. Oh my goodness! Why did his name? I forgot right now.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a very well-known young British poet who died just 5 days before the armistice, and I have translated his poetry, but I just forgot his name.
You just now told Ali Recha about Hemingway's that Farewell to Arms.
Yeah, the Farewell to Arms. Yeah, I mean, those, for example.
How do you tell that it has been romanticized? Because the person had come to see his wife delivery, and after that, wife died, and he decided not to go to war.
Well, but there is a romance going on in it, both in that book and also in the For Whom the Bell Tolls. Both of them, the romance which is going on and in my view, overshadows the horrors of war, and in a way romanticizes it. To be honest, when I read it as a young person, I don't know if I was in my late.
It is more on a romance.
Yeah, I wish I would be there. I wish I would be that ambulance driver.
Okay. Thank you.
It was somehow romanticized it.
Before concluding, I would ask. Please continue.
Wilfred Owen, the poet. To name. Wilfred Owen.
Yeah. Now my last question will be here. Before concluding this session, I would like to ask Amir, what is the most important role literature can play in times of war? And then request him to read a poem.
Okay, I think I already answered the question about the role of poetry during the time of war. I'll pass it on.
Can you read a poem? Can you read a poem?
I read enough.
Okay, then it's okay. Now I think we have already done. And thank you very much for being here for the first time, where OLF Mindscapes will have many more occasions and discussions. And we are truly grateful, sincerely grateful that you joined us and spoke your mind. And you three countries, those who are the worst sufferer of war. And with this, I thank you once again for being here and discussed about the literature in the time of war. Thank you.
Thank you, Manu. Thank you very much. Let's hope we'll talk about literature and our real wars will end.
Yes.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Namaskar. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Manu.